Welcome to another episode of 300 Voices in 300 Days. I'm your host, Tyrone Darton, and this is TAN TV, the African American Network. We have one of our 300 Voices here today, Miss Stephanie King, and she's going to give us a brief 30-second bio, and we're going to jump right into the interview.
Well, I am Stephanie King, and I have been in San Antonio for most of my life.
Okay.
My background is television news. I started out at a very young age here in San Antonio, becoming a reporter and then a news anchor, hosting national show, and now I'm a media producer. I produce my own video programs as a business, and I'm also public relations manager for Toastmasters International here in District 55.
Okay, so that's a lot. So we may not be able to cover everything, but we're definitely going to try. So let's start off with Toastmasters. Give us a little information on that.
Toastmasters is a wonderful organization. It's worldwide. We're talking 15,000 members in Toastmasters. And it's designed to give people an opportunity to learn to public speak.
Okay.
So if you've ever been nervous speaking in front of a crowd, which many people have, they say that it can almost be more scary than the thought of death for some people. Toastmasters gives you that opportunity to come into a club meeting and share verbally in speaking in front of a very kind crowd, friendly faces. And you can join Toastmasters as a member and share that kind of time from week to week with people who are listening and giving you valuable feedback. The other aspect of Toastmasters, our slogan is where leaders are made. Okay. Where leaders are made. So people who are interested in developing their leadership skills can come to Toastmasters. And we hold various leadership roles in those club meetings. Okay. But also you can move beyond just the club meeting and serve at the district level as an officer. So if you have not had that opportunity on the job or in the community, you can get those leadership skills in Toastmasters and then take them and transfer them out into the workplace or in the community where you serve. So
that's great to hear about Toastmasters. I mean, growing up, going to the Eastside Boys and Girls Club here locally, there were some club members, I guess I would call them, that came and put on some workshops for us over there. And like you said, it's difficult for young people, for most young people, or most people in general, to be able to get out front of people and public speak and not be nervous and not kind of have that, to have that calmness, I should say, and be able to articulate their thoughts and their feelings. So that's a great thing to have an organization, a club like Toastmasters, to prepare people externally to be leaders internally. Because how do we see our leaders? We see them out front. We see them with the voices. Martin Luther King, he's one of those great people that you can look at and say, he was always out front, but when he had that mic, when he had that opportunity to speak, he always captured the crowd. He always, had a way with words, and that's how we view our leaders. One of the other things that you said that kind of caught me was you produce, and I don't watch a lot of network TV, so to speak, but with technology, you have your different apps and things like that. We're on Roku, so download TAN TV on Roku. But you don't see a lot of African Americans that are producing. We see African Americans that are in front of the camera, acting and things like that. But you don't see a lot in the credits for those executive producer roles, those producer roles, those director roles. Kind of share with us what you do, how you got there, and just your role, how you see your role in kind of setting the mark for other African Americans.
Well, I believe there may be more than we think who are out there producing.
That's a great point.
My background has been producing in television. Now I'm producing video for businesses and ministries, nonprofit organizations. But I would say that my producing, even my on camera, came from a very young age. And if you don't mind, I'd like to take you back.
Take me back. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. Take me back.
I mean, I'll take you back to 6 or 7.
Take me back in the days.
I lived in Houston when I was a child.
Okay.
And my uncle was an electrician. Uncle Benny, he was.
Uncle Benny.
But we call Uncle Benny Mr. Gadget Man. That was
Okay.
my favorite name for him. Because when I was 6 and 7, every time Christmas rolled around, Gadget Man had a huge reel-to-reel recorder.
Okay.
And he would interview the children in the family. So I had an opportunity to talk into that microphone and to hear my voice back.
Okay.
And that kind of started things for me. Then I became the family photographer. I'm not in many of the pictures that we have at home in our albums because I have been shooting pictures all of my life.
Wow.
Then Uncle Benny, back in the day, I don't want to date myself too much.
Back in the day.
But he had a video camera very early on, and he put it in my hands. Mm-hmm. So I was able to go in my community and take pictures of things and see my craft at work. I then moved into high school and started entering many speech contests. I spoke and spoke, won many trophies doing that. But one of the other things I did, I learned about public access television when I was a senior in high school. Okay. And I went to public access, gained access to the television equipment that I was somewhat already familiar with, and produced my own show called Black Encounters in the studio. And that was a wonderful opportunity. I didn't see African Americans on television, at least not locally.
Yes.
So I know that I was somewhat breaking ground in that area. And it was just an enjoyable opportunity to talk to other Blacks in San Antonio, learn about their histories. And it goes on from there. I'll let you talk a little.
It's okay, because you kind of told us that path. And I think one thing that I did hear, and hopefully everyone is engaged, that you had people along the way that opened doors, unlocked doors, created paths with, the Gadget Man and with, the being the photographer and even, having access to that video camera and even having the know-it-all to say, I'm going to go down to that public access station and kind of see what they can let me do, which ended up you producing your own show, your first show, Black Encounters. And I think that is something that we should know because people around us are doing things, family members, friends, neighbors, and if we just cross over a little bit, what's going on over there? Yes. We can be doing things too, and those things can blossom. So you've been in me. I know they can.
Yes, they can. I wouldn't say I stumbled into it, but my curiosity was so strong that where there weren't opportunities, I created my own. Yes. Because right after high school, I told you about having Black Encounters. Yes, ma'am. Well, right after high school, I went to Trinity University and won a scholarship that was sponsored by Channel 4. Okay. Then it was KMOL TV.
I remember.
And they hired me to work what we call the floor crew. Mm-hmm. So I operated the cameras and did lighting in the studio and worked with the news anchors that way. But I just kept looking and seeing what other people were doing. And because I had the experience in the public speaking contest in high school, I said, I can do that. Mm-hmm. I want to do that. So by the time I was 19, I was on the air reporting the news while I was at Trinity University on a part-time basis. And as soon as I graduated, it went into full-time work. But that's how things have developed for me. It's not that opportunities have always come knocking. I've just gone after what it is I want.
Yes, and that's what we should all do. We should all pursue our dreams. I always hear that saying, shoot for the moon, and if you fall short, you land with the stars. I mean, you have to have a mind to know that you're going to be great. And if you end up just being good, then you just end up being good. But at the end of the day, I think that we all have something beautiful inside of us. We just got to chase it. We got to go for it. Shifting gears a little bit. So media is one of those things to where you can control or most say you can control the narrative. You can kind of shape people's perceptions. In 2017, Black America is in a state to where a lot of people aren't out in the community. They get a lot of their information from media sources, whether it be from the traditional mainstream sources or, social media. As a person that has been in media for so long on so many different levels, and this can be a mix of personal and professional thought in your response, but how important is the media in regards to our perception? And does the media truly kind of shape and inform and mold our public opinion, not only about others, but about ourselves?
I think the media does have that impact in terms of sometimes shaping how we see things. I'm a person of faith, and every single month I receive what we call a media prayer calendar.
Okay.
And it lists Hollywood stars and directors and producers, people who are influencers in our communities, because they are shaping a lot of times what we see and hear. And we emulate often what we see in the media. Personally, however, I think that there's a standard that we can set for ourselves. That comes from the inside. It comes, in my case, from my faith and spirituality. And I try to discern what's coming my way.
Gotcha.
And view it as, this is the way the world is. But this is how my world is.
Got you.
And that's how I see that.
And I think that's a great point to make. It's okay to kind of see what other people are thinking and how they think and how they project their thoughts. But at the end of the day, you have control of how you think and understand. And I think that's important. I'm glad you shared that with our audience. So, and going back to what you said about, we kind of pay attention to the media. I'm thinking about the Me Too hashtag now. I'm not sure if you've been keeping up on that. So we know that holistically, there have been some gender issues in our communities, in our nation, in our history. But specifically with the media and things like that, I think that women have had to struggle to get to a certain point. They've had to fight to get to a certain point of fairness, not necessarily equality or equity, but fairness. And now with the Me Too movement, I think a bigger light has been shined on it. But on the other side of it, with that media piece, does the media have that off-on switch to where when you turn it on with Me Too, which has become a major movement for women and for the industry in regards to the movies and things like that, but then they can turn it off and then we just move on to the next thing. It's kind of a difficult concept to articulate and frame. I think the question I'm trying to ask, or the point that I'm trying to get is, should we just rely on the media to address those wrongs that are going on every day in front of us? And what is our role as individuals to kind of highlight those things?
I think the media does play an important part. Now, what I know of the Me Too movement, it is primarily giving women a voice.
Yes, ma'am.
To acknowledge what's happened in their past in terms of just being treated unfairly, but also assault, sexual abuse. And I've seen some of those stories. They are quite touching. And the media has created a venue for those women to finally speak up. Because I don't believe there's any healing until we can acknowledge that and to bring it out and then to not be afraid to share it. And so many women are finding such support. As soon as you hear one person's story, in social media, someone else is responding with their story. And it's kind of snowballing. And I think the media is playing a very strong role in just giving that platform for women to respond in that way.
And I agree with you. I believe it's important to respond. And I think bigger than that, we have to figure out a way to keep that going after the media moves on to the next thing, the next hot button topic. And I think that's at times seems to be our disconnect. But again, we're having this conversation. So hopefully, if we can't figure it out, there's someone that's watching that can figure out how to keep it going, how to keep that movement, that message, to be that microphone, to keep the information going when maybe the mainstream or the social media has moved on to the next hashtag. But that kind of brings me to a broader question and encompassing all the things in being who we are and being Black people and being American and being here today. Why do you feel like it's important for us to share our story, to tell our story, our experiences, the things we've accomplished, the things we failed at? Why is it important to share those things?
It is critically important that we share our voices. I think what Tan is doing is wonderful.
Thank you.
Just giving people this opportunity to have a voice.
Yes.
That is important. Let me slow down. Your question again was, why is it important
Yes, ma'am.
that we have a voice?
Yes, ma'am.
I think because we need to know that there are opportunities here. And we need to know about the people who have been afforded opportunities, especially in San Antonio.
Yes.
People may view the city as kind of quiet and laid back, and it is in some ways, it is. But you have to see the opportunities that are here. And I feel like I've been afforded many of those, to be able to talk about how I came here from an impoverished Houston, Texas, to a San Antonio, and how the world just opened up to me. When I came to San Antonio back in the 70s, I had been exposed almost for the first time to different cultures.
Wow.
I did not know how other people lived. I didn't have dreams really when I was there.
Wow.
But when I set foot in San Antonio, when my mother found her opportunity here and I got here, the world just opened up. And I saw that there were things I could do. And I immediately took advantage of that. And when in middle school even, becoming head cheerleader and queen of the school. But then going on to work in the media for other African-American children to see a young African-American woman in front of them on camera doing that sort of thing, I believe gives them an opportunity to know that they too can accomplish that. And how else are they going to know unless you all give an opportunity to tell the story?
Exactly. Like they say, if you knew better, you'd do better. But if nobody's talking, how can you ever know? With that being said, before we close, sharing is caring, and a lot of things we don't know. If you can share with our audience right now, 3 African-American people, men, women, in media that they should know about. It could be past, present, future, someone up and coming. But 3 people that they should know about here locally.
In San Antonio?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm thinking on a national scale because I have strong role models here. I remember back when I started in television, on camera with me, I was on the desk anchoring, but one of the strongest reporters here was Mary Walker.
Okay.
I doubt if you remember.
I remember the name. Do you remember
her name?
Yes, ma'am.
She has a legacy in San Antonio. She was such a strong influence to me, an investigative reporter who went after the story, wasn't afraid to tell it, and did so articulately. And I watched her as I moved along in my career. So Mary Walker is someone that I think can be one of your voices here in San Antonio. She's that strong of a personality here. Another African American here was Cordell Walker back in the day. He was a sportscaster. And watching him and his style and his articulation was also a big influence to me. But even today, right now, you kind of confused me right in the beginning with being Ashley King.
Exactly.
You did. It's like, who is this person? This is not Ashley King. But that's okay, because people have asked me, is she your daughter? Is she your daughter? But to see her, a young woman who's doing it in the media in San Antonio, she is so sharp. I admire her so much. And I'm looking forward to seeing where she goes in her career. And
that's what it's all about, the future. But even bigger than that, sharing all of this great information. It's been an honor. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing with us. And I know our viewers have been just blessed with all the information you've shared. So thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me, Tyrone. You're terrific at interviewing.
Thank you. I try to get better every time, but people like you have paved the way for me. So again, thank you for that.
Thank you.
So with that being said, thank you for tuning in to another episode of 300 Voices in 300 Days. My name is Tyrone Darden. This has been Ms. Stephanie King, one of our 300 voices over 300 days. And this is TAN TV, the African American Network. Hope to see you again.